Hi guys, I just wanted to put out this quick video and just talk about what's happened with Steam and the price of Steam over the last few days. A couple of weeks ago, I put out a target price, a imminent target price for Steam at $2.80, and the reason why I did this was the amount of liquidity that is now flowing into the cryptocurrency market is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Just to give you a for instance, or to give you an idea, not long ago the cryptocurrency market had a market cap of approximately 20 billion. That has risen fivefold in a very short period and is now over 100 billion. Now, I when I first joined Steemit, I put out a blog that talked about a potential for Steemit to be a 500 billion, that's 500 billion dollar powerhouse. And this came as a bit of a surprise to a few because people were saying, well, that's crazy, I mean, at the time I think it was 200 million or something. And people said that's crazy, that's just absolutely off the wall. And I wanted to put out this video and explain to you why the price of Steam has gone up so fast. And really, this is merely we haven't even scratched the surface. And what I'm trying to do here in this short video is to try and break it down into bite-sized chunks to try and explain the whole picture and why I believe 500 billion is most likely going to happen. 500 billion. Now, just to give you some background, Facebook is obviously valued at, let's give or take 450, 500 billion. And people would say, yeah, but it's got 1.6 billion users. And really, you have to understand that to measure Facebook against Steemit or Steemit against Facebook is like measuring ice against fire. They're two completely different animals. And people really have to understand that the concept of Steemit is a tiny part of the platform like Facebook and other social media sites, and the way that the capital structure is set up is completely different. And what I'm trying to do here, or what I'd like to try and do here, is give you an idea as to why 500 billion for Steemit is achievable. Now, to go from where we are now, and today we crossed over 500 million, to 500 billion is effectively 1,000 times. So straight away, you've got to try and think in bite-sized chunks of not ones or tens or hundreds, but in bite-sized chunks of 1,000. So today we've breached over the 500 million. So to go from 500 million to 500 billion, that's 1,000. Now, at the moment, we've got 170,000 users, but really the actual numbers of users and making those numbers representative to Facebook isn't what it's all about. And the reason why I'm putting this video out is people have to understand that when you buy Steam, you're actually buying a cryptocurrency, which is a store of value, and it's not like buying a share. Now, with Facebook, they have shareholders, as we all know, and the capital structure has been around since the 70s. And the way that Facebook has been valued is completely different to the way that the future capital markets are going to be valued. And it's something that obviously I've been talking about over the last few years, that this transformation from the old traditional way that was effectively set up in the 70s and the 80s is actually going to migrate towards the cryptography and the blockchain. And in theory, what's going to happen is shareholders or share certificates are going to be replaced with cryptography. And the speed that we've actually seen the cryptocurrency market explode over the last few months is nothing. It's pocket change. You know, we've gone from 20 billion to 100 billion 5 times. Nothing. It'll go from 100 billion to 500 billion. Now, when it goes from 100 billion to 500 billion, that is liquidity coming into the market. That is hard cash, new cash that is actually propping up the market. And really what people have to understand is when you have a wallet or a Steem account and you either buy Steem, you invest in Steem, or you blog and earn Steem, the Steem that you actually own is part of the structure of the actual availability of Steem. Now, again, to break this down so that you can understand this, or, you know, for the ones that are struggling to understand it, there is 230 million floating Steem. So that's 230 million Steem available for trade, for buying and selling. Now, let's say that we break that down into a bite-sized chunk of not 1,000 but 10,000, and let's say that instead of 170,000 accounts, we had 10,000 accounts, and each one of those accounts held 23,000 Steem. So straight away, you can break it down. You've now got 23,000 Steem owned by 10,000 people. Now, I know obviously some people have got a few Steem and some people have got thousands of Steem, but really to understand why it can go to 500 billion is, let's say if everybody who's got the 23,000 Steem all agreed, and there's 10,000 people, they all got together and they said collectively, we're not going to sell. We are not going to sell our Steem. At the moment, it's trading at $2.34. It's got the market cap 550 million, but we're not going to sell. We are not going to sell. People are going to blog, people are going to talk, people are going to chat, people are going to trade, comment, but we're not actually going to sell our Steem. And what would actually happen? The buyers who want the Steem would obviously have to bid a higher price. Now, you know, there are occasions when people think, well, you know, I've seen it at 10 pence or 10 cents. We're now up to $2.34. You know, I'm going to take my profit. I'm happy with that run. But they get replaced by people who say, you know, $2.34, it's a good price. I'm happy to buy it in at $2.34. So they transfer the Steem, and effectively the Steem then gets moved around. So when you say, or when people say, well, 500 billion is a crazy number, I like to try and break it down and think, well, what actually is Steem it, or what actually can the Steem ecosystem achieve? Now, I strongly believe that what we're going to see over the next 5 to 7 years is a migration away from the share certificates, the capital structures that we've witnessed over the last 30 to 40 years from the 70s. And I think when I say this, that the migration has actually started to happen. And what we're actually seeing now is we're seeing a new generation of investors who, you know, are in their early 20s. They've got a couple of $1,000. They want to invest like we all have in the past. You know, when I was in my 20s, it was property. You know, you could buy a property for, my first property was just under £10,000. You know, I mean, this isn't something made up. This is real. This is what has actually happened. So if you replace where I was 30 years ago with somebody in their early 20s now, who was now saying, well, I've got £2,000 or $2,000, what they're going to do? They could buy a Bitcoin. They could buy $2,000 worth of Steam. If they believe that Steam and Steam ecosystem is undervalued, they'll buy in. So what we're actually going to see over the next, I think it's going to happen pretty quickly. Yeah, I think we're going to see a spike. I think my $2.80 is very achievable. I mean, I've been saying it's imminent, and people say, well, what do you mean by imminent? Well, as far as I'm concerned, imminent is only from 0 to 3 months. It's either going to happen in I think I've called it in the beginning of May, so it's either going to be May, June, or July. But I think what we're going to see is it shoot past the $2.80. Now, people are calling, it's natural when a price goes up. It's natural for people to start calling numbers out. Oh, it's at $2.34. Well, it's going to get to $3. Oh, it's at $3. It's going to get to $5. We get to $5. It's going to get to $10. So it's natural that people will say, well, is it a bubble or is it actually a real substance? And really, you have to understand that if Steam and the Steam ecosystem does what I believe it's going to do, it's going to completely reshape capital markets, completely reshape them, So when you take the likes of Google, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, you take all these multi-billion-dollar companies, corporations, and you take a slice out of those, and you take a little bit out of Facebook, a little bit out of Google, a little bit out of Amazon, a little bit out of Netflix. 500 billion is nothing, and when people start seeing these numbers, as the user account grows, yesterday we saw an explosion in the number of transactions, which I shared with you through over 358,000. Now, when you start looking at these transactions that are on the blockchain now, these transactions are on par with where Bitcoin is. So, people really have to start understanding what Steam is, and just to call out a number, 500 billion, without any substance, I'm sure that is going to, is going to give me, a bad name. But what I'm trying to do here is try and explain to you why I strongly believe that 500 billion is achievable if you actually recognize that the capital markets are going to migrate. So if I say Steam, the Steam ecosystem, and Steam it being a very, very small part of the overall Steam ecosystem, if I say it's going to be worth 500 billion, but I back it up by saying that there's going to be a migration, a huge migration over the next 5 to 7 years of capital markets out of shares and bonds into cryptography, then if you actually think of the overall market, the overall global market, which currently asset value stands at about 275 trillion, what is 500 billion? It's it's petty cash, and that really is something that people, if Steam does this, what I think it's going to do, and does this migration, then there'll be a lot more people who will then come back and say, well, hang on a minute, I've got 23,000 Steam. I'm one of the 10,000 people in this group. I think it's going to do what Stephen has just said, and that's going to be the migration. Therefore, I'm not going to sell my Steam. And of course, if this migration does happen, and people then obviously want to buy into Steam, and Steam creates this complete ecosystem, then I think 500 billion will be a start, not an end. So, you know, I'm very, very, very excited about the future. And really, you know, you're going to get these peaks, you're going to get these, you know, dips, but the overall price is going up. So at the moment, you know, we're currently standing at about approximately 550 billion, for 550 million, $2.34. You know, can I see 1,000 times? Can I see 1,000 times from where we are now? Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, why not? Because if you actually look at Bitcoin, and you know, Bitcoin is at $2 at 2,800, 1,000, $2.80. You know, Bitcoin was at 10 cents. So I think people. I think what we're going to see over the next, I'm going to say over the next 6 months. I'm going to say over the next 6 months, I think Steam and the Steam ecosystem is going to shake up a few feathers. And I think what you'll actually see is that people will be more inclined to pile in when it's over $10 and it's going up than they are now today. And really, I've been saying it for a long time, say for 9 months really, but I've been saying it from the moment I was first introduced to Steam. It'll be the early adopters. It'll be the early adopters who operate the system, who expect, you know, these dips and the you know, the hard forks and the down days, the up days like we're having over the last couple of days. And it's going to be the early adopters who weather the storm that will actually reap the rewards long term down the road, you know. And I've said all along, I'm on a one-way ticket, you know. I totally get people drawing a little bit out, you know. I absolutely get it, you know. You want to be taking a little bit of off the table and rewarding yourself and patting yourself on the back and treating yourself, you know. I really absolutely get that. But on the long term, I'm really on a one-way ticket, and I'm powering up all the way, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I think, you know, with the videos that I've done, the interview that I've done with Josh at World Alternative Media, you know, I think it's been pretty clear now that my excitement is up there. You know, I mean, I strongly believe that if you're in your 20s and you've got an entrepreneur head on you, and you really are, you know, an entrepreneur, you should be looking long and hard at building a bespoke business model within the Steam community. And if you need any help, I'm more than happy to help, I'm more than happy to guide or share or, you know, brainstorm anything that you want to talk about. But I would strongly be building a unique business model within the Steam community. You know, and I think if you did it, you will, you know, in the next 5 to 7 years, you'll see the benefits. So I just wanted to put out this quick video. You know, I was away last week, had a great time, extended break, a lot of drinking, a lot of eating, a lot of walking. Spoke to a lot of good friends, and educated myself more with people that I knew. You know, I can talk to a stranger, but talking to a very good friend about Steam the STEAM system. It's an education. So I think these next few days are going to be exciting, and certainly these next few months are going to be exciting. So if if you really grasp the whole STEAM concept and the whole STEAM concept, then I think you're going to be you'll be pleasantly surprised. So keep steaming away, and thanks for listening. Cheers, guys.